Now, news of a British film with a Nollywood twist that's going to premiere in London next week. The Perfect Man, do they exist, is a romantic comedy about a successful 30-year-old career woman who's got everything going for her, apart from where her love life is concerned, because a Mr. Right is noticeably absent. Or is he? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Well, joining me in the studio is the film's producer and star, basically, Diana Childs. But before we talk to her, let's take a peek at this clip from the film.
Have you ever met a man that sends electric waves through your body, but at the same time, you just want to break your neck?
Love, long life, prosperity.
Ooh la la. Diana, welcome. Interesting film, the woman who's got everything except love. It's quite a common theme, so what drew you to that?
Just like you said, it's a very common thing. It's just what's happening right now. It's like there are more women than there are men. So everyone, like, you have this career, but you just can't find a man. And being African, we know what the pressure is heightened once you turn 30. For a woman, that's your worst nightmare, being 30 and being single.
Is that the sense that if you don't get married now, then that's it, you're going to be on the shelf forever, you'll never have children or anything like that, you're a failure?
You know, yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, you have this job, you have this, okay, but where's your man? So basically, you're not really complete, are you? Which is, I don't agree with it, but it's just society.
And it's probably worse because the pressure comes from the parents as well, because they want the grandchildren to bounce on the knees.
Parents, society, friends, comes from everywhere.
I suppose that some people say, look, when you take this notion of a single woman looking for the right guy, she kisses a few frogs on the way, because sadly that's what we have to do. It does sound a bit like Bridget Jones without the diary. So isn't that a bit of a problem for you, because you're trying to say to people, look, don't judge this film against that marker. This is different.
Yeah, the film actually, yeah, the focus is this lady, but it also sheds lights on like stereotypes and stuff. So she is, from the the trailer, you can see she's torn between either going with a black guy or going with a Caucasian guy. She's torn. So it sheds light on stereotypes and how we put people in the box based on their race, based on their religion or their sexuality. So the story is actually just bigger than a 30-year-old lady, you know, looking for a man.
Sure. Yeah. And it's interesting as well that you talked about the choices that she faces. Does she either go for a black boyfriend or a white boyfriend? The interracial angle. So that's quite interesting in itself, because interracial relationships are quite common, and yet somehow along the line they're still quite taboo in some areas, aren't they?
Yeah, they're common, and we want to say this is 2015, we don't raise our eyebrows anymore, but we still do.
Why do you think that's the case?
I don't know. I don't know, I just think some things are just, it's going to take a while for people to move away from some certain things. People still have this belief that, I think people are so focused on culture. This is our culture. And I'm like, what is this culture really? Should it be based on culture, just based on similarities and personalities? What is this culture we're on about? And that's what actually motivated me to write the story, like, because I'm trying to check, like, what is this African culture, this British culture? What is this culture we're talking about? You know, so yeah, the story actually sheds some light on that.
I mean, the way that you've described it, it doesn't sound like a rom-com. There are comedic moments, there are romantic moments. It seems to be a bit more than that. What category would you put it in?
It is actually a rom-com. I will put it as a rom-com. It's just that I also wanted a topic that was, I wanted an important topic, you know, something controversial. I didn't just want to make a story that people would just be laughing. I wanted something people can still relate to and be like, oh, I see a bit of me in her, or I see a bit of me in him, or I'm that person who judges this person. So it is a romantic comedy, to be honest, but there's still, it sheds light on something quite important in society. Do
you see yourself as similar to the lead character in any way?
Oh my God.
The unfair question.
Maybe, yeah. I've been in an interracial relationship before, and yeah, there were, you know, people had things to say. So yeah.
So there's an authenticity in the words that come out of this character's mouth and the experiences that she's been through.
Yes, definitely.
But it's interesting as well, because you've produced and starred in this film, and normally you have directors who star in the film. I'm thinking, for example, of Clint Eastwood. He might direct a film, but he also stars in it, takes the lead role. Whereas with the directing, the producing, that's more the finance, getting the money together. Were you not tempted to actually take control of that camera, or do you think, just leave it to somebody else? I've done the really tough bit, which is getting the money.
Yeah, I was never tempted to take control. No, I actually, because I also wrote the script, it's good to have a different point of view, because then if you write it, you produce it, and then you still direct it, it's just one track. So I wanted somebody else to bring in a fresh input and have something different to say. So that's why I needed somebody else to interpret it through their own eyes, if I could say that. Yeah.
Could you see yourself directing films at some point?
No, not now though, but maybe in the future. I like to test myself. I like to explore my options. So yeah, never say never.
Never say never.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been writing since you were a child, but this is your first feature film, so you've actually taken things to a new level, haven't you?
Yes, I've been writing since I was a child. And I sold my first script as a teenager, and
You sold your first script as a teenager?
Yes, I did actually in Nigeria, and it was. Acted as a feature film, was produced as a feature film. So, and I've been writing since then. But this time I was like, you know, I've always wanted to act and play a lead role, but many directors won't give you a chance if you've never played a lead role before. It's just like getting a job. You want this job as a manager, and they'll be like, show me your CV, previous experience you have as a manager. If you don't give me a chance, how will I ever be a manager? And that's been the case of, you know, playing a lead. So this time around, I decided to take matters into my own hands.
Sure. I mean, you've done a very good job as well, because you've penned a romantic comedy, but do you see yourself as being a writer who will focus specifically on comedy, or do you want to actually move on from that and take on straight drama as well?
Yeah, I actually like controversial topics. So the story I actually wanted to produce at first is quite a heavy topic, a heavy story, and I discussed that with a producer, and he was like, wow, this is big, but if this is your first time, then just go this big, because this is really controversial, so just test the waters first. So that's why. So I quite like to challenge myself and to challenge society. I like to, invoke people to talk and discuss and say things. So I don't like taking the easy way. That's why, though this is a romantic comedy, I still wanted to focus on something that's society. It's part of the society in our daily lives.
Because you were saying off camera that you are very busy, and you've got people phoning you up wanting to work with you. If they're not phoning you up, they're mailing you, or they're knocking on the door. You're having to hold them back. So what is the next project that you're working on?
Right, okay, I'm sure, oh God, to now say this on air, but I'm actually writing a true life story, so I have the consent of someone to actually write their story of something really traumatic that they went through. So that is my next project. It's a big one, but yeah, I'm taking my time with that because it's quite delicate.
Are you also going to produce this, actually raise the money, or are you leaving that to somebody else?
I'm open to different ideas. If I can get sponsorship and work with other producers, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, but because I mean, the raising of the money, it's actually quite a complex process as well.
It is quite complex. This The Perfect Man is 100% funded by my company. That's because we, try to get sponsors, but because it's first-time producer, people would still say, "Oh, show me what you've done before." So
yeah, but you've done it. You've got something to show for it. So the film premieres next week. Where does it premiere?
So it's June 12th at Odeon Cinema in Greenwich. Yeah, so that's where it premieres. The starts at 9, but it's advisable to get there early because we know African time, so no African. We don't want any African time.
Yeah, we get it. But Diana Childs, good luck with that. The Perfect Man, as you've just been hearing, it premieres next week at the Odeon in Greenwich. Thank you so much for joining me here on This Day Live, and thank you too for joining me on This Day Live. Stay with us here on Arise News for more news updates.
I don't want a perfect man, just a man. A good man at least. Taller than me, of course. Educated and has a job. I don't want no man on that benefit stuff. My tax money won't pay for no man to sit around all day. Meet Jane. She has the best girlfriends, a dream job, and a big house in London. On paper, she's happy. But all Jane really wanted was to meet the perfect man. And then she met Mark, and Emeka, and Greg. But all Jane wanted was to meet one man. And now she's faced with a dilemma. Who does she choose? Diana Childs Limited presents the grand premiere of The Perfect Man on Friday, June 12th at Odeon Cinema Greenwich. Red carpet starts from 8:30 p.m. and movie screening immediately after. For tickets and more information, please log on to the website or call the hotline. Details on the screen. See you there.